After all the victims who have come forward saying that they were raped by other people than Epstein, after having multiple rooms, not just one, wired for sound and video, and people on the island, people in the New York apartment saying that the purpose of that was blackmail and extortion, after some people saying they were extorted, the FBI has the balls to come forward and say, no one was blackmailed. It was just Epstein. There's no client list. He's dead. Move on. Case closed. When people ask you why cryptocurrencies exist and blockchain exists, it's stuff like this. We don't trust the institutions anymore because the institutions are no longer capable of regulating themselves.
There comes a point when a lie is told so boldly, so shamelessly, that it insults everyone's intelligence. After dozens of victims came forward, after hundreds of hours of surveillance footage, and after a global network of influence, abuse, and cover-ups was exposed, the FBI looked the public in the eye and said, "There's no client list, no blackmail, no further investigation needed. Epstein acted alone." Case closed. And just like that, some of the most powerful and abominable people in the world get to continue evading justice, unscathed, unexposed, while victims get to forever rehash the grave injustice done to them. Just a little over a month ago, it was announced that Virginia Giuffre, one of the most prominent survivors of the Epstein sex trafficking ring, had died by suicide. Not only was Giuffre, who was 41 at the time of her death, one of the earliest and loudest voices calling for criminal charges against Epstein and his enablers, but other survivors later said she gave them the courage to speak out against their abusers. Report shows that the information she gave law enforcement was also critical to the conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's associate. Sadly, the U.S. Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, have decided to honor her and other abuse victims with their latest memo on the case. The said memo, released on Monday, says that an exhaustive review of the Epstein documents found no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. What the memo is saying, in essence, is that there is no client list, and, as such, there will be no further investigations against uncharged third parties. This is far beyond abominable. It is heinous, abhorrent, and completely atrocious. In a recent video broadcast, Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson reacts to the memo, highlighting just how much it proves the importance of the cryptocurrency industry. As we bring you clips from Hoskinson's video, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
I'm pissed. I'm sad. I'm angry. The lies are so bad and so corrosive and destructive that it doesn't even surprise me anymore. So for context, let me share my screen here. So this is Pam Bondi, our current Attorney General.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
And then right here. As part of our commitment to transparency, the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigations have conducted an exhaustive review of investigative holdings related to Jeffrey Epstein. To ensure that the review was thorough, the FBI conducted digital searches of its databases, hard drives, and network drives, as well as physical searches of squat areas, locked cabinets, desks, closets, and other areas where responsive material may have been stored. These searches uncovered a significant amount of material, including more than 300 gigabytes of data and evidence, physical evidence, 300 gigabytes. These files related to Epstein include a large volume of images of Epstein, images and videos of victims who were either minors or appear to be minors, and over 10,000 downloaded videos and images of illegal child sex abuse material and other pornography. Teams of agents, analysts, attorneys, and privacy and civil liberties experts combed through the digital and documentary evidence with the aim of providing as much information as possible to the public while simultaneously protecting victims. Much of the material is subject to court-ordered sealing. Only a fraction of this material would have been aired publicly had Epstein gone to trial, as the seal served only to protect victims and did not expose any additional third parties to allegations of illegal wrongdoing. Through this review, we found no basis to revisit the disclosure of those materials and will not permit the release of child pornography. This systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. So, in other words, after all this time, after all the victims who have come forward saying that they were raped by other people than Epstein, after having multiple rooms, not just one, wired for sound and video, and people on the island, people in the New York apartment saying that the purpose of that was blackmail and extortion, after some people saying they were extorted, the FBI has the balls to come forward and say, no one was blackmailed. It was just Epstein. There's no client list. He's dead. Move on. Case closed. And they also said in another release that he killed himself. There's no evidence that anybody else was involved, even though the cameras didn't work. And they released a videotape in a different area that was unrelated to his area, and didn't explain any of the discrepancies. It's so far beyond fantasy at this point. It is what I would expect from the Soviet Union with Chernobyl. 3.4 rotogen. Not good, not terrible. Everything's under control. The government is lying to us at a scale that is so unbelievable and disgusting and sickening. We all know this is a lie. Every one of us knows this is a lie. What they've done is just close the case, which means there will be no further investigations. There'll be no more FBI looking into it. There'll be no more, we're going to release that and talk about it. And everybody who raped over 1,000 children over a 20-year period just got away. What did Ghislaine Maxwell go to prison for if there was no trafficking and no client list? What's she in jail for? Just Epstein raping people? 1,000 plus victims? So he raped a person every day, a different person every day for 3 years? Himself? Honestly speaking, is this the society that we want to live in? Is this the society of who we are? That we're just comfortable with children being molested and no oversight, no special prosecutor, no one looking into it and having a frank adult conversation with us? When people ask you why cryptocurrencies exist and blockchain exists, it's stuff like this. We don't trust the institutions anymore because the institutions are no longer capable of regulating themselves. We don't trust the institutions anymore because when we ask them to do the right thing, and believe me, it is absolutely, definitively, unambiguously the right thing to put child molesters in prison, they don't do it because the people in power apparently have some connection to it. How can you then trust them with your health care and your education, with the roads, with the water you drink, the air you breathe, and the food you eat? How can you trust them to make the right call of who we go to war with and who we make peace with? How can you trust them with your money in your pocket? All moral legitimacy dies when you fail these basic tests of decency and you allow some of the most disgusting and despicable people in the world to walk scot-free, live lives of luxury, walking around knowing that they raped children. It's a dark, terrible day for the government to do this, but it's expected.
Throughout history, when institutions become too powerful, too corrupt, or too comfortable, they stop serving the people and start protecting themselves. And when that happens, real change never comes from within. It comes from outside the system. That's exactly where crypto lives. Cryptocurrencies, by design, challenge the idea that power must always flow through a central authority. They defy the notion that we need permission to transact, to own assets, or to store value. They offer sovereignty without signatures, freedom without middlemen, consensus without kings. Look at what happened in Canada, a liberal democracy, where during the 2022 trucker protests, the government invoked emergency powers to freeze the bank accounts of ordinary citizens who donated small amounts, sometimes as little as $20. People weren't arrested, they weren't charged with a crime, yet their financial lives were suspended. In response, many turned to Bitcoin, not to evade the law, but to escape arbitrary authority. Crypto challenges the monopoly of central banks themselves. For centuries, monetary policy has been dictated by unelected technocrats pulling levers that affect billions of people, often without their consent or transparency. When the gatekeepers are threatened, they slam the gates shut. Crypto removes the gate altogether. Let's get back to Hoskinson's video.
The Soviet Union was the ultimate example in the 20th century of a society addicted to the concept that there is no objective reality and truth. It's just whatever the state happens to say. There's the truth, and then there's the truth. The truth is what actually happened, and that's the single most dangerous thing to know and say. And then there's the truth, what the state said happened. And your first job is to figure that out as quickly as possible. So you don't believe your eyes, you don't believe your senses, you don't try to look for objective reality. You try to find the authority figure who's high enough on the food chain that he or she is allowed to tell you what the truth is, and that's the truth. Everybody listening knows it's a lie, but they're so used to being lied to, they no longer even know what the truth looks like. Our society is becoming like this. Any person who believes what has just been said here is the truth no longer has the ability to discern what's real and what's not real. The minute that you succumb to that is the minute that tyranny takes root, because tyrants then own a monopoly on reality. And they can tell you up is down and down is up. The sky is yellow, the sky is blue, the sky is red, doesn't matter. You don't see it, you're told it. Blockchain doesn't do this. Our industry doesn't do this. The technology that we work on doesn't care what your feelings are. It creates an objective reality. And the consensus is that we can all see it and verify it ourselves. So as angry as I am, it reinvigorates me in a certain respect. Tells me I'm on the right road. Tells us all that we're on the right road. When we look at technology like Midnight, when we look at technology like Cardano, these are necessary, not necessarily sufficient, but at least necessary components on the long road of restoring integrity. Our society is deeply broken, deeply partisan, and we are divided by design through massive amounts of propaganda to hate each other, the left versus the right. This side is evil, my side is virtuous. And we're not allowed to have a discussion about objective reality and objective KPIs and what is good for the nation as a whole, how humans should live in 2030 and 2035. And we're also told that when evil people do things based upon who they know and who they are, we just have to accept that they get away with it, because that's just the way things are. That may have been the way things were during the Middle Ages when we had kings, but that's not how things are if we assert to live in a free society with rule of law. And as long as it takes for the victims to get justice, there's a lot of us listening right now who will remember them, and we will find a way. It's not over. I'm glad, in a certain respect, that these institutions have put the final nail in their coffin. They've proven beyond a reason of a doubt that they're broken beyond repair. For America, I think the only solution now is a constitutional convention. There is no way at the ballot box or with third parties to elect our way out of this. For the last 24 years, we've either been ruled by a Democrat or a Republican, equal time, 12 years and 12 years, and then partly this year with Trump. Every problem we have is bipartisan. Every single senator and congressman, every executive, in their own way, Democrat or Republican, continue to lead us down this road to hell. I'm old enough to remember weapons of mass destruction. I'm old enough to remember DARPA and the Information Awareness Office trying to inflict upon the American public total information awareness, only then to be slapped down by the Congress, and now it be resurrected by Palantir. after being dormant for years and years and years, hiding in places like Carnivore and Einstein. I'm old enough to remember all the lies told about COVID. And I'm old enough to remember that Epstein is an agent of governments to extort and blackmail some of the most powerful people, to contort and use them for dark machinations. We don't forget these things because authority figures tell us to forget them. We remember them because they're an indication that the moral legitimacy upon which this nation stands is broken. And only by us coming together as a people at the state level through a convention are we ever going to be able to rewrite the DNA of the society we live in so that we can begin the process of healing the nation. And we need technology. We need AI. We need blockchain. We need new organizational design. We need incentives engineering. And we need the last 200 years of political science theory to guide us through. The cryptocurrency space has taken many of these challenges by the horns, and we're testing these systems at a scale of hundreds of millions of people, soon to be billions of people. In real time, we're learning how to do governance, all its warts and all its glory. Real time, we're learning how to do incentives. Real time, we're learning how to build voting systems. And so we have trained up millions of people who do not tolerate mediocrity. And those people can and will be engaged in the great project of reinvigorating things. I love the United States of America because it's the original country of rebels. We had the audacity to stand up for ourselves against people much more powerful and fought a hopeless fight just for the privilege of being a nation, very divided one. And we had to fight it again in a civil war. And then we had to overcome the perils of totalitarianism and communism in the 20th century. But I also, as an American, freely acknowledge that we have many sins in addition to our blessings. In fact, the national motto of the United States ought to be, we know, we're working on it. I'll never give up on the American promise and the American dream, ever. I'll never leave. I'll never exile. I'll never rescind my citizenship. My bones will be buried on my ranch in Wyoming. And I'll never stop fighting because who we are is worth fighting for. And even though our government has let us down, and today is a real sad one, the American people never let us down. They still fight. They still believe. We just had our Independence Day, and we celebrate it by showing who we really are, a nation that's willing and able to fight. The coming years, we're going to have a lot of fights. We're going to fight for the soul of America. Do we belong to an unelected oligarchy and plutocracy and massive corporations worth trillions of dollars, now with super sophisticated tools that know everything about us and use it against us at any whim and will, in a giant globalized society where we're given table scraps? Or do we live with liberty, God-given liberty? That's it. And how we get there is we have to use the same tools. We have to use constitutions. We have to use blockchain. We have to use AI ourselves. And we have to use each other. We have to get along. We have to work together. We have to fall in love with the concept of an objective reality and truth. And we should never become so cynical that we believe that the truth does not exist. A society only dies when we give up on the things that unite us. And we're perilously close to that by design. Don't give up. Don't get cynical. Keep the hope. Keep the pragmatism. Let's find a way to bridge this gap. And these are the moments that should unite us. I don't care about your politics. There are certain things in life that are just plain wrong. And there are certain things in life that we all have to agree need to be remedied. This wound will not heal until we come together to heal it. And today, we have a clear example of where we've been failed as a society. Let's wake up tomorrow and start fixing and healing. Thank you, everyone.
The failure to prosecute Epstein's network isn't just moral cowardice. It's evidence that the foundational institutions of Western society are broken beyond repair. When the FBI itself becomes complicit in burying the truth, when bipartisan corruption spans decades and administrations, and when those responsible for mass abuse walk free while the public is told to move on, something deeper has collapsed. This is not just about Epstein. It's about the failure of democracy to deliver accountability, about the collapse of trust in justice, media, and governance. It's about how the elites who rule by access and secrecy across both left and right no longer feel the need to even pretend. They can lie in the open. They can erase history in real time. They can commit atrocities, cover it up with press releases, and punish no one. Charles reminds us that this kind of rot is no longer fixable with elections. The game is rigged, the players are entrenched, and the institutions designed to protect us have become the very systems we now need protection from. His solution? Radical, peaceful, decentralized rebellion. He calls for a constitutional convention, a ground-up rewrite of how power is distributed. But more urgently, he demands that we stop outsourcing our lives to institutions we cannot trust. And the rebellion begins with the things we can control: our money, our data, and our communication. That's where cryptocurrency steps in, and it doesn't stand alone. While Washington plays gatekeeper with outdated laws, the crypto movement is already creating a parallel society, built not on permission, but on protocols. And it's not just about finance anymore. Take Jack Dorsey's latest innovation, BitChat. It's a messaging app that doesn't need internet, cell towers, or centralized servers. It uses Bluetooth mesh networking, allowing phones to relay encrypted messages directly from person to person. It doesn't ask for your phone number. It doesn't track you. It doesn't report to anyone. It's the beginning of a communications network that lives outside the surveillance state. Let that sink in. When governments shut off the internet, when platforms censor your words, and when service providers close your accounts, BitChat keeps working. Quietly, freely, privately. This is more than clever engineering. It's civil resistance through code. It's the kind of innovation that reclaims our right to speak, to organize, and to exist digitally without permission. The same is happening with blockchain, with decentralized finance, with self-hosted AI. The pieces of a post-authoritarian future are being built, not by politicians, but by technologists, creators, and communities who are done waiting for permission. So if you're watching this and wondering what to do, start there. Pull your money out of centralized exchanges you don't control. Start using wallets where you own the keys. Encrypt your messages. Leave the platforms that harvest your data. Educate yourself. Opt out. These are not just acts of privacy. They are acts of rebellion. Every time you take back control of your digital life, you weaken the system that failed us all. And don't be fooled. This is a fight. It's a fight for reality, for memory, for the right to say, what happened, happened, and no amount of censorship or PR spin will erase it. The final point Charles makes is one of hope. He still believes in the American idea, not in its government, but in its people, in their willingness to rebel, to rebuild, to refuse the lies. But that only works if we remember one thing. We're not powerless, we're just unorganized. But that's changing, fast. This is the beginning of something extraordinary, and you are part of it. If this message resonates with you, don't let it stop here. Share this video with someone who still believes in the truth. Like it if you're done being lied to. And subscribe if you're ready to be part of a movement that sees through the noise and builds what comes next. The algorithms won't push this, but you can. Thanks for tuning in.